Welcome to Gathering 208, the pod. We caught Kellen off guard there. He's like,
adjusting on
we're going live.
Okay.
Oh, you can't see him? Okay.
No.
Okay, good.
Hey, welcome to Gathering 208, the podcast. Man, we've had 2 weeks off, so it's kind of nice to be back, but it feels weird. It's like going at it all over again. But I'm here with Kathy Hackett and Kellen Hackett and my beautiful wife, Erica. And we thought we'd just kind of have a year in review with pastors and spouses here tonight with Gathering 208. Talk about our year and year as a church. And we'd love to hear about your year. And if you're joining us live, you can comment or ask questions or anything you want to know. We'd love to talk about it. And not just talking about the dumpster fire that is 2020. It is
but
you know,
fire.
even though 2020 has been filled with some struggles, we can still be excited about 2021 and how God's going to continue to work through His church in the new year. So, welcome, guys. It's good to have you guys. It's good to have you all back.
Yeah.
It's nice to be back on the couch. Oh man,
It's been a while.
It has been a while. So for those of you who are wondering, we 2 weeks ago, Eric and I were like getting to Utah, right? And we were going to start the new book, right, for book club.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
It was going to be me and Julie.
It's going to be you and Julie. Originally there was going to be like 4 people, and then like as usually happens, you kind of get some fall off as schedules don't quite line up.
Yep.
You're like, okay, but we've got Kellen and we've got Julie, and then you ended up getting sick that afternoon.
Yep,
and driving to Nampa so that you could have a quick test done for COVID.
Yeah.
Which you were clean.
I was clean.
But we found that out half an hour after the podcast would have started.
Because, I think Julie had gotten it set up so that I could get there at 5.
Yeah.
And so I got there at 5 o'clock or whatever it was, 5:05, and didn't get out of there until it was like 7:30.
Wow.
Yeah,
So,
it was a long time.
Even Julia texted me. She's like, dude, you're still sitting there? I was like the parking lot was full when I showed up.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
You know? So, we didn't
And
get out.
it's kind of dark
until
and
7:30.
shady at night, too, because I was there
is.
2 nights before you were for my test.
Yep.
Also negative.
Mine was more just one of those things, right? Like, I just want to be safe, just to know,
Yeah.
right? One way or the other.
Yep.
Because, I felt like I got hit by a truck. I mean, I
man.
did. But, I was negative. And really, by Friday, I was back to normal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
And so because of that, like Kathy and Julie were going to do it over Zoom.
yeah.
Right. And then Julie was having trouble with the Zoom account, trying to get that figured out because she had to log in as me to get, our account set up. And then your kids
Lost their
blew
minds.
their minds.
Yeah.
It was a bit
Always fun.
It was
it was a
chaotic.
bit chaotic. It was like our normal chaos level, but it was like
Higher.
Yeah.
So we get like a half hour out and I'm driving and Erica is creating posts for postpone. And I finally go, we've got to call it. We've got to call it. We're a half hour out. No one's ready. So we call it.
Yes.
And then like 15 minutes later, everyone's like,
oh, we're cool.
oh, I guess we can do it now. Forget it.
No.
It's
Yeah,
done.
Hang out.
My kids had totally calmed down and they were like zoning out on cartoons. I was like, I could.
Oh my gosh. But that has been the year. It has been a year of like, hey, we think we know what we're doing, and then we get closer, and then things fall apart, and then it's just that's been 2020 for us.
2020 in a nutshell.
Exactly.
Yep. COVID tests, crazy kids.
I know. So I'm up to 2 COVID tests.
I've had 3.
You've had 3.
Yeah.
And
Holy
I've
cow.
got to have a third one here coming up for because we're traveling.
Yeah.
Kellen and I are heading to Guatemala.
Yep.
And so we both got to have COVID tests, which we apparently have to figure out how to do. How to get a COVID test within 72 hours of flying out when there's 4 days of wait time
Yeah. It's
to get results. So,
because we'd have we'd have to get the test on the 24th
yep.
because we
Merry
fly out on the
Christmas.
morning of the 27th.
Yep.
Yep.
So we need to have it done on the 24th, but because it's Christmas and Christmas Eve, no one's going to be there on Christmas Day.
Yeah.
So it's like, you got to get it done on the 24th.
Yeah, but then everyone's like, it might take 4
It
days
might
to get
take
results.
4 days to get it back, but
Oh,
that would be the time we need to fly.
We should be in the air.
Yeah, so it'll be and like our friends from Sioux Falls that are going. I haven't heard. I think the other guy is from that's joining us down there. She's from Florida. There's a lady from Florida, and I can't remember where the guy is from. His name's Kevin, but yeah, they're going to run into the same issues I think that we are.
Yeah.
So I don't know how people are going to work. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
It's got to work somehow.
Oy,
So,
love it.
but even the way planning this trip has gone has just been, yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
it'll be like half hour. Like
I'm sure.
we'll be in line
Exactly.
at the airport probably when we get the results back.
Oh
or
my
something
gosh,
stupid.
my
that's
goodness.
But
Not nerve
it's a little nerve wracking. Yeah. So if anyone's got any pro tips on how to get a travel COVID test fast, like quickly, and whatever the World Health Pass is, that's a new one.
yeah,
So
I haven't heard about that.
I haven't either.
I just
until
saw
today.
that one email from Kyle at Casas. But what did you have to do when you went to Zambia? Because you passed through South Africa and they had yellow fever.
I
at
did
the
get
time.
yellow fever, so I had this card.
Oh, wow.
And it was like proof of my yellow fever vaccination.
Yeah.
And if I
Oh.
didn't have it, they wouldn't have let me leave the
Yeah.
airport.
Oh, wow.
I would still be in South Africa.
You would be
Yeah.
like
Oh my
the
gosh.
terminal.
I'd just
Yeah,
be,
she'd be like Tom Hanks. She'd
Oh
be
my
stuck.
gosh.
I'd just be living there.
Yeah.
There's-
Zambia didn't have yellow fever.
You make
to
all
worry
that
about,
YouTube money starting the blog.
Yeah.
You're trapped in the airport.
Did you see the video of the guys who tried spending 4 days in the Singapore airport?
I did
No.
watch that.
Yeah.
But
They were like, you have to hide because you can't be in there. You're not supposed to be there longer than 24 hours.
Okay.
Anyways, what were
But
you
they have
saying?
like a pool and a movie theater and stuff.
What?
Sorry.
They
Anyway.
do.
I didn't have a smartphone back then. So
Oh,
that'd be
back in the
boring.
day,
I would,
yeah.
I would
What?
just be.
You'd just be
There.
reading the magazines at the
Yeah.
Brookstones or whatever it is.
Oh my goodness. Oh, so
Anyways.
yeah, this has been an interesting year for church planting.
Yeah.
Because we were originally planning to try to launch Easter, like back when we first were getting ready to come out here.
Yeah.
Right. And between just some team dynamic changes and getting integrated into the community, we realized that we needed some more time before we tried to launch public services with production and trailer and finding a location and all that kind of stuff. And so we decided in January that we were going to push until September. Right. And then so what was it? March 17th? Is that
Somewhere
right?
around
Somewhere
there.
around there.
Yeah, it was mid-March.
So
Like-
March 13th is the last day of school.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
then we
March-
were going to
yeah.
do Love Local.
So it was Friday the 13th.
Maybe it was Love Local we were going to do on the 17th, right? And they everything shut down.
Yep. Nothing happened.
And that was kind of the start of us going, "Oh, I'm not sure what church is supposed to be anymore."
Yeah.
Right? So we were doing Zoom Bible studies, which I actually didn't mind. I didn't mind the Zoom Bible study.
When we were sitting in our garage doing it with
Yeah.
this setup.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, because it was the garage was nice to sit in,
That's
right?
Did
And we had the
Andrew
little
still live
panel.
here at that time?
What's that?
I can't remember. Was Andrew still living here at that time? Is
Yeah.
that why I was
Yeah.
in the garage?
Yeah, Andrew was living in here
Yeah.
because this was we had one of the like a 20-year-old guy who was living with us at the time, and this was his bedroom.
Yeah.
And we did everything from the garage.
Yep.
Right. So we did Bible study. We started the podcast back in March because this
Yeah.
is like episode
This is 36, so it's been 38 weeks.
38 weeks because now we have to add 2 because
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I will tell you, I liked the Zoom Bible study, but what I hate is Zoom preaching.
Zoom preaching.
I
is weird.
hate Zoom preaching.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a little awkward.
It is because there's a delay and everyone's like not sure how to respond, and so they're just kind of. So basically, what it is, you're
Talking to yourself.
talking to this. What is that? Brady Bunch
Yeah.
Bunch screen.
Yeah.
And everyone's just kind of staring at you, and you're like, okay.
Very dead.
Yeah, you don't get
Or
to
like muting their microphones and yelling at their kids.
Yep.
Like
Yep.
that's how it
Exactly.
usually
I will
is.
say I was thankful to not in 2020 to not be one of the pastors that accidentally set themselves on fire with their mood lighting. Did you see that?
No.
I think there was I
Is there a
can't.
compilation?
I think there was a guy who lit his sleeve on fire on a candle or something. I can't remember.
Man.
I haven't seen any of those.
It's like
but
the drummers having fake trees fall
hilarious.
on them during worship.
Yeah. I
Oh
saw
gosh,
that, yeah.
those
I saw that
awful
one.
fake trees.
What
those.
church was that? Do you remember? Was it just a random video?
It
or
was
was it people
we
we
had
knew?
somebody connected.
I was gonna say, I
Somebody
thought it
was
was somebody we
connected
knew.
to
Oh,
that.
did we?
Yeah.
I don't remember
Yeah.
that video.
Oh, I didn't know it was anybody we
Uh,
knew. I just remember watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Real funny.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, basically 2020 has been this year of pivot, right? And
that might be the word of the year besides COVID.
Pivot.
I remember back it was either March or April, listening to the Carey Nieuwhof leadership podcast, and he said, agility is ability and flexibility is a superpower. And agility is ability, and flexibility is a superpower.
You had that on a sticky
I
note.
did. I had it on a sticky note and written on my whiteboard for a while, because that was just this constant reminder that, like, we've got to stay agile, we've got to stay nimble, we've got to be both reactive and proactive at the same time. Dealing with the situation and just being super flexible. And I know that was hard on the team, because it's like week from week you didn't know what was going on. Right. It's like, are we on Zoom? Are we in person? Are we meeting at all? Are we going to go back to was it Rolling Hills? Rolling Hills.
School.
I still have keys to Rolling Hills Charter School in my car.
Because we haven't been able to go to back yet.
I haven't gone back. And they sent me an email that said, don't come into the building.
Yeah.
Right. And like, okay. And then
which made sense at the time.
Yeah. And then we went ahead and because we kind of, it was a month-to-month contract, right? So we just stopped paying it, and I haven't heard anything from them since. So if you want your keys back, I've got them.
You should probably just.
I should probably just take them over there.
I think the charter schools are meeting in person.
Are they?
So.
Okay, because it's like our kids are back digital. To drop anything off at the school requires like calling and then hazmat suits and.
I'm sure that's what it is.
Well,
it feels like it.
Our girls got hot spots or whatever.
Oh,
it's because they were at Boys and Girls Club.
Oh yeah.
So they got hotspots because Boys and Girls Club. I mean, you can't take all those kids on the internet.
Yep.
We have a reserved hotspot. They haven't gotten the hotspot yet.
You know what I mean, though. Like, they've got it. We got to go pick it up.
Yeah. But like our kids having to adjust to this year's been everyone's been through it. It's like you're half in person, half at home, and then you're back to just being pure digital again. And it's been one of those years where we have to look at our life and go, okay, so what are the essentials for doing what we do? Like what are the critical parts of being a family? What are the critical parts of being in friendships with people? What are the critical parts of building community? What are those fundamental, irreducible minimums that if you get rid of them, what's that? Irreducible.
Is that a Joshism?
It is a Joshism.
It's not a word.
Is it?
I don't know. I think it's a word.
I've heard of
I'm
it.
gonna Google.
I probably said it.
Irreducible.
See, irreducible. And
it is
see, what's it?
irreducible, not able to be reduced or simplified.
See, irreducible minimums of what it is to be a
I thought
church,
I'd heard that word.
right? To have discipleship, like Erica is discipling Debbie, and they have yet to see each other in person.
Yeah.
So
She's a human. I believe it.
She's real. I promise.
She's real.
and
You all matter.
so it's been one of those years where we really have to examine, okay, so what does it mean to create community, and what are the essential pieces to that? So I'm gonna throw that out for you guys as you've looked back at 2020 and what we thought church planting looked like in 2019 versus what it became, and then what have been some of the essentials that we've had to walk away with, if that question makes sense.
I mean, we definitely couldn't have done it without technology.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Like that, it would have been impossible.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm glad we have your brain for technology because, like,
And not ours.
yeah, like even myself, I'm like, I would have just been like on my laptop talking to people, and that's not as pretty as this is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Having some background in tech has been very helpful this year.
For sure.
I'll tell you that. Yeah.
I mean, I guess in the scope of, you can look at me. In the scope of church planting, not looking at all like we anticipated it to. I mean, I'm sure we all thought at one point we'd at least have a building and be meeting in person or space. Yeah. Like we had several conversations about, are we going to get a building? Are we going to do renting, and we did rent, but then we can't have people around, so it's just been, it doesn't look at all like we would have expected it to look. And we definitely, I mean, wouldn't be lying if I said we anticipated having more people at this juncture.
Right. Yeah.
You know, we've lost some, we've gained some, and it's just been a whole roller coaster. So it's
Well,
nothing.
we had even was it in February? We had that night where we prayed around the building, just down State Street, interior or Designs West building.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was one of those things that prior to that, it was like, man, if, you know, some of the donors that, you know, Josh had been talking to or was going to speak at or something like that, it was like, man, if some of those come through, this place could be a possibility, because that building is still sitting there empty.
It's still empty.
Right? It's still
Well,
empty.
for 4 years now.
And it will
years.
be if it stays at the price it's at.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So I remember like we had that prayer night, and it was like less than a month later. I remember we were like at coffee and we're like, dude, I'm so glad that money didn't come in.
Yeah. We don't have
Be
this
stuck
big
with
old
this building, be
We
stuck with
would've bought
a
that,
rental or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whether it would have been renting it at that price, you know, leasing it or whatever, or buying it. Yeah.
been a huge liability.
Would have been a huge liability. But yeah, I think that's, you know, that's one of those things that, you know, and I don't know if like necessarily just, you know, the four of us, when we set out here, we were like, we got to get a building. None of us had that, like,
No.
it must be one of those things we must do.
Yeah.
So it's not really so much of it, at least for the four of us anyway, I can speak to. I can't speak for everybody on our team, but I know for like the four of us, the building was never a priority, but COVID really emphasized that, you know, that we could do, not just us, I mean, general, we could do church without, you know,
Yeah.
a $1 million building or $2 million, whatever that building is over there.
I talked to so many people
Yeah.
who got
Expensive.
confused.
Yeah.
Because they would be like, oh, so you're going to build a building? And I
All
was like,
yeah, so many people. Where
And
do
I
you
was like,
guys
no.
meet? Yeah.
well, or where are you building? And I'm like, we aren't. And they looked at me like, how does church work?
How do you have church
Yeah.
without building?
Have a building.
Well, and you could see even after we had been here for 6 months, like starting to fall back into some of that. You know, if we get a building, everything will come together.
We did,
If
yeah.
we get the
Yeah.
if we get the right space, everything will come together.
Yeah.
You know, and we go to Rolling Hills and be like, the space is just it's a little
quite right.
weird. It's
Yeah.
not quite right. It's
it wasn't
it's
right.
kind of tucked back, and you got to kind of walk around the building. And man, that's what's holding us up. And you're like, honestly, no. You know, that wasn't that. It's not this. It's not ever the space. And space is, I think space is more likely to become a liability than it is to become an asset. Because you can get yourself sucked into a space that is more expensive than you can afford.
Yeah.
It demands more resource of people and time than you realize. And all of a sudden you realize that you are building a church to serve the space that you want to be in. Because I love a cool space. You know, like you guys came out of Ransom and they've got that cool warehouse space. You know, we came out of Mitchell Wesleyan, which has this beautifully renovated building, and you know, like I had an entire floor of a youth center. Right, I came from a church of,
You're so
you know,
spoiled.
youth room, right? Like double sized living room, and that's where
With
you
a
shove
bunch
all
of
the kids in
couches,
with a bunch of couches, and then all of a sudden it's like I had a worship center and a cafe and a loft and classrooms
Fireplace.
and a fireplace, and I'm like, oh my gosh, right?
Yeah.
And we come here and like, well, yeah, our church has a fireplace because our living room has a fireplace,
And church kind of is our house.
right? And just this realization that, you know, we can get so sucked into demanding, or not demanding, but desiring the right space that we forget the mission that we've been called to accomplish. And sometimes that means that willingness to invite someone into your home, or that willingness to put yourself out there for conversation is so much more important than building or creating the right atmosphere in a space that you're asking people to come to, or hoping. You know, sometimes we forget to even ask. We're just kind of like, hey, if we put out a sign, if we put things out on social, I hope they'll show up. And I don't know. So I'm ranting again, but one of the things we talked about.
Don't mess up your hair.
One of the things we talked about was that word of belonging. right? And I think we talked about this at our last planning meeting, right? When we did quarterly planning, and we kind of put that word belonging up on the board. And what does belonging mean? So I'm going to throw that to you guys. What does belonging look like coming into the end of 2020?
Like belonging for our church, or like as in, like, what do you mean?
Take that word however you want to go. It could mean, like, what does it mean to belong to a church? What does it mean to feel like you belong to a group of people? What brings about feelings of belonging?
Definitely, I think, and I've talked to people where this has been the situation where this whole COVID has been very isolating, and there's been a lot of loneliness throughout that. So just having this group of people that we're able to worship with, whether it's in person or just over the computer, just having that body of people that we're a part of, and being reminded of that on a regular basis has kind of kept things from getting too isolating. I mean, like when I look at my Life 360 app and it tells me I haven't left the house in like 3 days, like that could make me feel sad, but people show up here and then you're on my computer and like we're all part of things. And so it's kind of nice. It kind of makes you focus on what it actually means to be a part of something rather than just showing up,
Right.
actually being a part of something with others.
And I know, like, when COVID first started and Boise shut down, I had just started a brand new job. So I not only was out of my element completely, but isolated to home, and it was just a really learning a new job that was not my thing. It was insanely stressful. And I started to, just suffer the effects of that, anxiety, and, it was just really hard. And, I don't know why, but I was just like, oh, it's just me. Everybody else out there is cool. They're cool with this whole COVID shutdown thing, but then when you started to realize, no, everybody's actually having a hard time, that made me feel like there was a sense of belonging and community. We all like bonded over like the suckage that was, was the shutdown. But, I mean, it didn't make it necessarily any easier, but it definitely, created that belonging as much as it could, I guess, for me during then.
Yeah, I think it still boils down to relationships. Like, excuse me, I got a frog in my throat. Like we had a conversation with Noah the other day, and even our kid, who's pretty well laid back, majority of the time, is like, man, I miss seeing my friends at school.
Yeah. Really
I miss seeing people in school. And that's the first time I think there's been a couple times he's been like, oh, it'd be cool to hang out with my friends. Right.
Yeah.
But he has only kind of brought that up a few times over the last, 8-9 months, whatever it's been. Yeah. But yeah, I know, like, and he's not alone in that, right? Like, I think everybody's like, I wish I could see so-and-so, or I wish I could, whatever. And at least with us, like our lead team, we meet every other week, even though now we've stopped meeting at the district temporarily and stuff like that. Our lead team, we still at least get to see each other on Sunday mornings, when we do staff meeting. Our women have their women's group on Thursday nights. The men have their Saturday morning Bible study, so at least we're getting some interaction, right, with friends and other adults. Kids, though, who aren't in school and not going to a daycare, man,
I got nothing.
Like,
I know our boys are like just straight up stuck with each other
all
the time, and your girls were feeling that too, right?
Oh man,
yeah, that's probably the reason why we went to Boys and Girls Clubs, because they were like
gonna
at
kill
each other's
other.
throats.
yeah. And now they're like, I want to stay home. I'm like, do you remember staying home?
Do you remember that you didn't like that either?
Do you remember how that went? You like your brother being your boss? No.
Nope.
Well, that's what it's gonna be.
Right.
Yeah. So it's hard. I think it's harder on kids than we realize.
Definitely.
So.
Well, that's that importance too of when we've been trying to create these kind of at-home communities and taking the sermons and recording them and putting them out there watch in your living room, and just encouraging people to find those people that you're going to bring over. Right. And, because it's good for the kids to get a chance to interact with other kids, or to watch, you know, the, kids curriculum, or, and for us to just have that circle of people that we intentionally connect with and are willing to take those relationships deeper. Right. You know, and it's like, I know that's been tough, on us. Like, I haven't seen like Culver's in a couple weeks because they go to your guys' house, right? Yeah. And so we're going down to Meridian and going down to Julie's, and you guys are with Culver's and Nelson's, and it's like, man, I haven't seen Ryan in a while, right? Like, man, I wonder how he's doing. And there's this sense of like you're building a church where you don't see everybody every week like you used to,
Right.
You're still all part of the same thing, and you might chat with one another, like during the sermon video, like on Facebook or on YouTube. They've got the chat feature, the live chat feature, right, where you can just chat, and then you can kind of like connect with people on that, you know, and which is kind of weird because you're sitting in a living room with other people and you're all on your phone talking with one another, but also like all these other groups. So it's kind of cool, and I like it. It's just weird, but yeah, it is.
It's a very different way.
It's weird to belong to something. You know, people thought it was weird if you were at a church that went from one service to two services, right?
You don't see all your people.
I was up at one service,
Watford.
Watford. We went from one service to two service, and the biggest complaint we got from that was, I don't see everybody every week anymore.
Yeah.
Because it used to be, okay, you go in, it's like, I got at that church, you know, my 100 people that I see every week.
It's like, and
then all of a sudden you're like, well, I get to see, you know, 70 people instead of everybody. And there is a sense of loss there. But it does mean the people that you see, that relationship can go deeper.
Yeah.
So trying to figure out how to lean into that in 2021. I think it's going to be important. You know, there's a lot of talk about how the normal way when we think of going to church, is that coming back?
Right.
You know, is it ever going to go back to what it was? I promise not to kick your drink, too.
You're totally fine.
Like, can you even imagine Coachella ever happening again? Like,
I couldn't imagine it happening before. I don't know. This seems weird to me.
You're weird because you don't like people. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah,
like that's a lot of people all crammed together in a little space.
There's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, like even a conference or anything like that, or like going to a big church and being shoved in a row with a bunch of people.
Right.
You know, and those large gatherings are important. I think there is a desire within us as humanity to have that shared experience. But like a lot of things we talk about, it's the frequency. How often do you do that?
Right.
And I think that's a question that we as leaders in churches, as well as other leaders in community, are going to have to ask is, okay, how often and for what purpose do we get a lot of people in the same space?
Yeah.
And is that necessarily the best way of doing things anymore? So it's like I don't have all the answers to that.
No.
Got some ideas.
Yeah, I mean, because there is some benefit, right, to worshiping all together, like in a room, you know, with another, you know, a big body of believers. But yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, well, how necessary is it? Like, is it something we need to do weekly, right? Like we used to, like where church was like Sunday morning, you know, 200 people show up or 500 people, whatever size church you go to.
Yeah.
And now it's like, we don't necessarily have to go back to that. Now there's times where Kathy and I are like, man, I miss worshiping with 700 people in a room all singing, you know. That's the warehouse you were talking about, right?
Yeah,
Capacity with 700 people in that room. But then there is something though that like these last few weeks, 3-4 weeks, whatever it's been now, doing the home groups in our living room, like having those conversations, because we use the discussion guide after the sermon, and having those discussions where like our group like that started opening up, you know.
You could build those deeper connections.
You could build those deeper connections, and there's a lot of value in that. Whereas
Yeah.
when you're in a room with 700 other people, you're all facing one direction,
Yeah.
right? You're all facing the stage. You're not facing each other. There's no conversation. Yeah, you might see your friends in the lobby or something like that, but yeah, it's I don't know. It's tough because I can still see it where I don't like Harry. If you alluded to him earlier, like his podcast, he'll say like it's not going away. He's like it's not going to ever completely go away. I don't think, but it will be different. you know?
Well, and we were one of the things we were talking about is why do people need to meet in person, right? And that's not being cynical and going, well, why do we have to do this? But like, what's the why that's going to make people go, yep, this is worth leaving my house for?
Yeah.
Right. And we've always got to answer that why question. And so we even when we were at the district meeting in person, we were like, okay, that community and that conversation is important. So let's break into tables.
Right.
Right.
Yep.
And it kind of worked. It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
It was kind of difficult.
Kind of noisy.
Kind of noisy.
Yeah.
Kind of like, okay, do I stay? Do I go? How much time do we give people to kind of, who's going to go where?
Yeah.
And it's this weird game of like, you're forming cliques all of a sudden, but you don't want people to feel like they're left out. Like it was just this weird dynamic, even in just a smaller group.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we've taken what you would think of with small groups and you've taken what you would think of with teaching on Sunday morning and just combined them together and put it in a living room.
Yep.
Right. So you get the sermon, you get kind of the announcements, you get what's going on in the life of the church, and then you have your discussion and it's all right there. And so the piece that is missing now is that corporate worship, right? So we've talked about, okay, so what if we put a worship song in there and we're like, okay, that might be nice, but it's not like everyone's gonna like stand up in your living room and sing together. Like that's honestly, if we're honest with ourselves, you put a worship video into that, it's going to be everyone sitting on their couch watching the music video, right? Like it's gonna be Christian MTV for a couple minutes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And
GTV.
GT Gathering TV. So, but that desire for corporate worship, to praise God, to worship together, to be part of kind of one voice all together within our culture and within what's normal for us, that's still in that larger gathering. And so I just had a conversation with Lonnie because we meet for coffee, and we met for coffee yesterday morning. Or this morning.
It's been a long day, man.
It's been a long day. It feels like 48 hours ago.
I know. 7 a.m. this morning, Lonnie and I had coffee and we were talking about, that's still important. So how do we create that? What does that look like? Do we need to bring back worship night? Is it one Sunday a month we do that instead of home groups? Is it,
Well, and that's like, that might be something where, we were talking to a couple other churches about a couple other smaller churches that are church plants that are a little older than our church plant, right?
Yeah.
But we were talking about doing Christmas Eve services together because we're all pretty tiny. And we're like, well, that might be kind of cool to get a larger group.
Kind of a social distance.
Plus, social distance, but like getting I think it was like 2 or 3 different churches we were talking to about possibly doing that on Christmas Eve. And ultimately it was just kind of, I think kind of like, I don't know what you want to say. The timing just didn't quite work out.
Didn't work out. Well, and part of it was our desire to see everybody.
Yeah.
Even if it was social distance.
Yeah.
And they were like, well, we're going to do like a drive-in Christmas Eve service. And we're like, it doesn't
But we're not going to be all together.
quite scratch the itch we're looking for, right?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, we'll do our own thing,
But that
right?
could be something that like in the future, I mean, not even just necessarily in the future for G208, but like in the future for other church plants that are similar to ours, or even not even necessarily a church plant, just house style churches, where you get a few different, maybe you've got a connection somehow to other house style churches where you could do a worship night, almost like United Pursuit. Have you ever seen the videos live at the Banks house?
Yep.
Where there's like a big group of people in the living room, but then you got like a band that's like just killer.
Yeah.
Yep.
You don't need necessarily a killer band. You can have a guy
need a
or a
killer
lady
band.
just playing acoustic.
It's
guitar.
got
Killer
killer.
bands are awesome.
Killer bands are awesome though, right? Like
Well, like a
especially
lot
those
of,
drummers on the cajones.
oh heck yeah. they can get wild. No, like there have been different, even like Christian artists who've been doing different things with taking their, like for King and Countries, doing drive-in movie theaters.
Are they?
And they
yeah.
put their stage in the middle, and they have people parked all around, like sitting in the back of their trucks, and they're worshiping together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like different things like that is just so interesting. Like
Yeah.
finding a new way to, because worship, like you're all breathing on each other. It's really
Yeah.
hard to do that
Right,
with a
that's where-
mask.
yeah,
like,
you'd have to-
how is
Yeah.
this gonna look?
Well, that's one of the things I like about that coffee house church, that coffee house worship. You know, we were experimenting with that and going, okay, I think that still fits into the model. I think that still fits into what we can be at gathering. You know, and it might be that we lean harder into this network of house churches, and we lean hard into that, and then we create those larger community gathering pieces. And so then it's just a question of frequency. How often does that happen?
Yeah.
But I think, you know, continuing to lean into one-on-one discipleship, continuing to lean into those community groups that come together in people's living rooms or whatever space you find, and you know, we provide the content, we provide the discussion sheets and the direction as a church, but then that leadership and the people who foster that sense of belonging is really focused, right? And then our job as a church becomes more focused on developing and investing in the people who lead those and creating a sense of belonging among the leadership of that. But it might be that, you know, the average group attender is like, well, no, this is my community. I don't care about that other community. I see him at worship night, you know, and
Right.
and that's just a weird. I don't know. There's a part of my mind that still that struggles with that. That still kind of grieves what was and what could be, and but I get excited about that still. And like Liv said in here, you know, you can harvest a level of vulnerability in your home that you can't have in the walls of the church. What's this? Petition your fan club.
The
Is the
gatherlings.
gatherings.
The gatherlings.
Gatherlings.
I love
Gatherlings. I like it. Yes. So, but there is a sense of commitment and relationship and vulnerability and transparency that you can have with a group of, you know, 10, 15 people in your living room that you can't have in a massive room of 100 or 200 or whatever people.
Right.
Yeah.
And we've always known that as a church. But that's why the bigger your church gets, like the whole thing, I think is Andy Stanley, who you know, church of 60,000 people is like, you know, the bigger, in order to grow bigger, you got to grow smaller, right? You've got to be able to split out into those groups, which is why they have these massive, you know, group forming things a couple times a year. And sorry, I'm rambling now at this point, but
Wow, new.
I just, yeah, I wonder if there's a part of me that really does wonder if combining what we would traditionally think of in church world as small groups and the Sunday morning experience and putting that together into that house church network, you know, and that's called all kinds of things, you know, house church, network church, hub church, KC Underground, you know, the underground church with Kansas City Underground and Tampa Bay Underground. They've got a system that functions a lot like that. And thing about that is those churches were COVID proof, you know,
Yeah.
like they were already meeting in homes, and
Right.
Oh,
as long as you know, as long as they could have anybody in their home, they were good to go. You
Yep.
know, so oh yeah, 2021, man, the church is going to look different.
Yeah.
And also encouraging people to not get to thinking that somehow flip is going to switch.
A
Yeah,
switch is
it's-
A
gonna flip.
switch is going to flip
The flip is
There
going to
you go.
switch.
on January
You were
1st.
close. You were close.
Yeah, that was like Kerry Newhoff was saying the other day. Even he was like, "Don't think just because." And this is probably a poor paraphrase, but like basically, like don't think just because New Year's Day hits, like 2020 is over. Now
Well,
we can go back to normal in 2021. And like, yes, the vaccinations are coming, and this isn't the place for the anti-vax or pro-vax conversation, right? But Like,
Yeah, don't go there.
don't go there. We don't want to go there. But yeah, with like the vaccinations coming though, there's hope. Like maybe, but there was hope, or I should say there is hope. But then like today I saw a headline and I didn't even want to read it because I just don't even want to know. Apparently there's like a new strain of COVID in Europe somewhere in England or something like that. And now like I said, I didn't read the article because I didn't even want to go there. But like, that's where in my mind I go, okay, are these vaccinations that are just starting to come out, like,
Are they going to be able to handle that? Yeah.
Well,
yeah, is it? Yeah, so
I read a thing that if you only get one dose and you don't go back for the second, that's just going to increase the virus's chance of mutating and becoming resistant.
Yeah.
So if you get the vaccine, please get both.
Yeah.
Please get both shots. But yeah, so
But I thought we all decided that we were all going to yell Jumanji when the ball dropped, and so then January 1st, right?
yeah, maybe.
Something.
I don't know.
Well, either
Well,
get
I saw-
a herd of animals or
Yeah, exactly.
I saw it was a meme that everyone just remember that Mad Max took place in 2021.
Oh crap!
Yeah.
I know.
I don't know if that's actual or not. I didn't go back to check the date on Mad Max.
I don't know.
I think it's so
But-
ironic that all these movies that their date
Well,
in the
and Blade,
future
wasn't
was
it Blade
2020.
Runner's like 2049? So like,
gosh.
hey,
Yeah.
20 years from now.
I'm
or
gonna
30
check
years
this
from now.
Mad Max
I never
thing.
saw
Is it
I never
2021?
saw it either.
Well,
but-
yeah, there was Mad Max 2021.
Oh, was it? Was it? Okay.
Come on, man. Educate
yeah, like,
yourself.
Yeah, I guess I just don't know. Like, let's look on the positive side, right? The optimistic side. Like, let's say the vaccine is what they hope it is, and it is what they're pronouncing it to be. Like, yeah, I don't know what that means for the church. I still think people are going to be hesitant to return to
I think so too.
those
It's
large
still scary.
gatherings.
Like for me personally, with anxiety and stuff like that, I don't
Well, and
want
people
to be
who are
around
high
a lot of
risk,
people.
right? Like
yeah,
people that are higher risk, and our roommate Kayla, like,
yeah.
it's like, do I really want to go to a Coachella
No.
where there's hundreds of thousands of people or whatever
Dumb
it is?
people. No. I'm not
Burning Man,
generalizing.
like. But yeah, so I don't know what
Ugh.
I feel like the church has been changed.
Yeah.
For
You
sure.
know, and it's not a bad thing. Like Josh was saying, like, yes, we're grieving what was and like what we miss and what it was like, even for us for like the last 10 years or so, like, yeah, there is a level of grief there, and you miss what it was. But like, on the other side of that though, it's forced us, I think, to get outside the walls of the church and just expecting, like you were kind of alluding to, Josh, like, like just expecting people to show up on a Sunday because it's what you do on Sunday.
Yeah.
Well,
like,
exactly. I think it's helped in a way to sort of weed out the people who just go because that's what you do on Sundays, or the people who are, whatever, I'll go to church here and there. I think if anything, it's kind of strengthened the actual true church, because I think it's helped the true ones remain and almost be even more focused. That we need to stay strong and be focused on this because we can't, go to the big services and things like that. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
somewhat. I don't know.
Like, I feel like,
Yeah.
whoa, whoops.
It's all right.
I feel
hit
like
my
it's
mic on.
like,
I hit my mic on.
I hit mine before you. I feel like it's strengthened the focus of people in the church in a way.
I look to at just what that means from even the financial standpoint of a church. It's cheaper to use people's houses
Yeah.
than it is to rent a building. And every business is figuring this out right now, that it's like, oh, if my people are productive at home, that's actually a lot cheaper than bringing them into a space and having to pay for the square footage of their cubicle and everything that it goes to maintain that square footage.
Yeah.
Right. And it's the same for churches. Production equipment for like this kind of thing has gotten a lot cheaper. Right. It used to be that a TriCaster, to do a multi-camera setup was like $30,000. Right. And now I've got this live production switcher here that was like $500, you know, or
And
something
we're
like
using
that.
iPhones.
And we're
Old
using iPhones. Yeah, like 3 of these 4 cameras are iPhones.
Yeah.
And a monkey can run it.
Yeah, literally pushing buttons.
I get to push
Right?
buttons.
And you know, and so that's all. It's a lot cheaper to do the you know, than to buy a big digital board and front of house speakers and lights and you know, all the, and you know, we still have the basics for some of that. But then when we talk about, okay, we're going to go do church in a coffee shop, or we're going to go do a worship night in a coffee shop, they already have the atmosphere, right? We just have to bring in the sound, right? And then that's all we have to worry about. And that's a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
You know, that means that we can take that money that we were using and put it into investing in people, into investing in our community, into investing in leadership.
Right.
And you all of a sudden free up a lot of resource, but it does take a lot more intentionality.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Because it's not just the show up on Sunday and everyone's automatically there, right? Like to stay I'm thinking in my head, I'm thinking, oh man, I haven't talked to the Smursies and like,
Yeah.
you know, and like I should, like I know that there's conversations I want to have with them, but that I don't run into them now.
Yeah.
You know, I've got to intentionally pick up the phone and text or call or send an email, and it's just a new way of thinking for me. Because I love the interpersonal, like, hey, let me grab you for a minute, right? I like that's the kind of conversations I like having.
Yeah.
But when you don't accidentally run into people every week, now that's harder. You know, it becomes really easy to go a month without talking to someone. And so there's this constant vigilance, which I think is the key to having that decentralized leadership. Those people who are like, these are the people that I am in charge of for creating belonging, right? Where it doesn't fall on a church staff, but now is really decentralized onto these communities that gather. Mm-hmm. So anyways, that's another long soapbox from me.
Yeah. Where else do you want to take this?
I had a thought.
Yes.
So since we all obviously have had a hard time this year, what's been the most positive thing or your favorite part of this year?
Guys, I can't say that I've been sad about being at home with my family a lot. Like, you know, when we were doing full-time ministry, Josh would sometimes be working, 60 plus hours a week, and I'd be working full-time, and the boys would be at school and after school care, and we'd see each other for like 6 hours a day.
Right.
Max.
Yeah.
Right.
Like that's on a good day. And, at church on Sundays, we'd be at church from like 7 a.m. to 1 or 2, and then sometimes back in the evening.
Oh, I was always back
Usually
in the evening
back in the
until
evening.
midnight.
And so now, like, we're literally in the house 24/7 with each other. And, like, it can get a little crazy, but I just, like, I have a feeling our kids are going to look back on this time and be like, remember when we got to spend so much time together and actually enjoy one another and get to know each other? Because, like, I feel like I know a lot more about my kids now and how they tick and how much like their dad they are.
Yeah.
And like you pick up on a lot of those things, and like the things that we used to take for granted or the things that we used to crave more with like that family connection.
Yeah.
I've gotten to enjoy that finally while still being able to work, which has been a blessing. And Josh has been able to work, and it's been like we're some of the lucky ones, because there's been a lot of people who've really been put out during this time. And
for sure.
I can't say it's been
so much
terrible.
unemployment.
And that's what I was thinking too. Like when I was working with Ocean Network and we went to work from home, like I don't mind working from home. I really don't.
Yeah.
Now I do like seeing my coworkers. Like you were saying, Josh, I thought about it the other day. I was like, oh man, I didn't even see so-and-so before I left Ocean Network, or I didn't see this person or that person, right? Because I used to see him every day when we were in the office. But I don't mind working from home. And now I work with Branch Insurance, selling insurance. It is a little weird to have not met my coworkers in person. Yeah. But our head of sales, she does a good job of doing like what we call stand-up meetings every day, where we just talk a little bit about what's going on, right? Like sometimes it's very business oriented. We got things we got to get done. Other times it's talking about kids or, life or whatever, know. But, I've liked working from home this summer, like in particular. because here in Boise it's like 95 every day and sunny.
Take your kids to the pool during
Right,
lunch.
like on my lunch
95
break.
and sunny.
Yeah.
Like on my lunch break, we would go down. I'd take the girls down to the pool every day. I'd swim with them for about an hour. I'd go back to work, and then usually Ariel would come back home with me, and Faith and Noah would stay at the pool another hour or two.
Yeah.
And so like that was a lot of fun. Like, yeah, going down to the pool, getting that extra time because like at other jobs that we've had, or like when I was in seminary, I mean, I'd go to work at 7:30 in the morning, or when I was at DirecTV at 6 in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sometimes wouldn't get home till 8 or 9 at night, and then I'd be like, sorry, I got to do some seminary homework.
Yep.
Now, did the girls go crazy this summer? Yeah, there were days, man, where we were like, why can't you be somewhere else? But, like, honestly, here's the thing. I thought about this a couple times. I'm bringing you to the Wileys. I don't
There you
care.
go.
I'll deal with the repercussions. But then
We're
I'm
dropping
like,
you off.
Just drop them off.
but I was like, no, Eric and
figure it out.
you guys have jobs too. Otherwise, but really, like one of our close friends back in Sioux Falls, he lost his job like I think one or 2 weeks into COVID, right in March.
Yeah.
Now he was blessed enough; he found a job almost immediately.
Good.
But Ocean Network, shipping is still going on, right? People still need insurance. So
That's
the
how
two
we're
jobs,
employed.
the two jobs I've had, right,
Yep.
to the two full-time jobs I've had, like, yeah, there wasn't a fear of, oh, you might be losing your job today because of COVID and things shutting down and whatever else. So yeah, like that's been like huge for me. It's more time with my family and jobs that like are pretty well secure,
Yeah.
So
I think my favorite has been, because since we've lived out here, we've, been in an apartment or a townhouse. Well, I guess all during COVID, it's been a townhouse. So, we don't have much house upkeep and things like that to do. So, we follow this page on Facebook called Idaho Beauty, where people post these beautiful scenic pictures of somewhere they are, So we'd get our stuff done really fast in the morning on a Saturday, and we'd look it up and we'd be like, well, it's an hour and 45 minutes away. Want to go adventure there,
Yeah.
So we were able to still get out, get sunlight, get fresh air, be active. This state is so gorgeous. We were able to see so many beautiful things. And the whole time it was, really good, solid family time that we were, adventuring together and making memories together. And when we just got to see a lot of really amazing, beautiful places that, if we...
the girls got to pee on the side of a road while an elk watch.
Yeah.
Nice.
Totally.
Yeah,
That,
man.
like no joke. Like
couple
literally, that
times.
thing was 20 feet from us,
Just like,
and the girls
Did we
were
ever tell you guys that?
the girls were peeing on the
my
side of the
gosh.
road. We went to the hot springs.
It was Kirkham
Kirkham
Hot
Hot
Springs?
Springs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And we told the girls before we left, do you need to go to the bathroom?
Gotta go potty
No,
here.
no, don't have to go potty. Don't have to go potty. We got down the road and suddenly they're like, I need to pee. Well, Kathy was in her swimsuit and
So,
her winter jacket.
I didn't want to change because I was like, the bathrooms were closed, so I was in my tennis shoes, my swimsuit, and my winter coat. So
And it's like a long- it's like down to her
It
knees.
looked like I didn't have any clothes on.
It didn't look like shit. Yeah.
And so the girls are on the side of the road. It's
Peeing
all
in the
snowy.
snow.
They're
Yep.
peeing in the snow.
And I'm like, look at the elk.
And the elk, you guys, no joke, this big, because the elk are
And maybe
so
it was
big.
more than 20 feet. It was like maybe 50 feet from
he
us.
literally did this. He was like,
This is staring at the,
cars are going by, and we're just, hey, what's up? I have clothes on.
yeah,
Fine.
don't worry about me. Gosh, I can't tell you how many times on this road trip Connor had to pee on the side of the road.
I
too.
can't tell you
Just-
how many underpasses Erica has peed on in
Okay,
Wyoming.
in Wyoming, there are no places to stop
There's
to go to the
nothing.
bathroom.
There's nothing.
Not especially if you take the highway up
If you're going from Rapid City to Billings, there's
on the highway and not
nowhere
on
to
the
go to
interstate.
no,
Yeah.
that's
So
yeah.
I have peed so many places in
That's
the
no
wilderness
man's land.
in Wyoming.
That's no man's land out there. Well, even like Billings to almost like Idaho, there's not much.
Oh, not much at all.
There's
No.
not a whole lot.
Yep, exactly.
Hey,
funny.
Sioux Falls Worship Squad, say hi to you too.
Oh, hey.
Especially Uncle Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
What's up?
We miss you.
We miss. He was, by the way.
Yes.
You guys never got into. You guys never played like tabletop RPG, like Dungeons and Dragons
Oh,
or
I was like, I don't even know what
Torg
language
or
you're
that kind of
talking
stuff.
What is this?
Okay,
No, guys.
Jeff is like one of
He's
the best DMs or game. I forget what you call him in Torg, but
He's not a dungeon master in Torg.
Oh, I
but
was like,
he's a dungeon
DM,
master
like
in
district
DM,
manager.
G-
I
No.
was-
No, but we need to figure out how to do that over
We do.
Zoom or something.
Oh man, do I have to come up with something I liked?
Yeah. You're
my
part
goodness.
of this, man. Are you telling me we've gone through these 9 months and you haven't just enjoyed the heck out of spending time with me?
I like to get out of the house more than Erica does.
I understand.
I've enjoyed some of the learning process of like trying to get better at preaching to camera. That's been good.
That's been interesting.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun editing your video.
Yeah, I like that a lot better than the Zoom.
Game Master, GM. Thank you, Liv.
Game Master.
Game
There
Master.
it is.
But yeah, the video. Yeah, sorry, I took over for you. What were you saying?
Oh no, I was saying I
didn't mean to interrupt you. I totally interrupted
You're good.
you.
I've enjoyed that. Non-church related, like getting into like jiu-jitsu and trying to take better care of myself and learning something new. That's been good. Although I put back on like 10 pounds just because of
We just
Thanksgiving
went to see family. And
going. Yeah,
we're feeling it.
feeling it. That's been good. But getting to coach my kids' class, like making
That's
time
cool.
for that has been
Like that's something you've never been able to do.
never. And I was
before.
supposed to coach soccer this summer.
Yeah,
And then they,
didn't happen.
Got canceled.
and that got canceled, and I was pretty bummed about that because I've never had the time to do that before. So now getting to help coach the kids class has been great. I guess some of just the exploring, just the idea of exploring what church could be, that gets me excited. The implementation is a little like beating your head against a wall.
Yeah.
But the dreaming about what it can be is awesome, right? Like,
Yeah.
Kellen knows I get
Yeah.
pumped when we dream about it. And then
Yeah.
when we actually get into the weeds of it, I'm like, oh, bash my head.
Yeah.
Like,
this
Kellen.
isn't going the way we thought it
Oh,
would.
this is so hard.
Yeah.
And there are days that I sit at my desk and go, I don't know what I'm supposed to do next right now. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I know I should be working on something, but I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
I had asked you at one point towards the beginning of COVID, and I didn't mean it as like a
I remember this question because it
where
stuck
I was
in.
like, what do you do all day?
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't mean
yeah.
it like you do nothing. But like,
tell ya.
I was just like, yeah, how do you do, like, because when we were both full-time ministry at large churches,
Yeah.
you pretty well know, like,
You know exactly what you're doing. You know what what your responsibilities
and
are.
if you're not putting things on your calendar, you're dropping balls.
Yeah.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So you've got to have stuff like that figured. And I learned that the hard way. But like, that's what, when I'd asked you that, I never meant like, geez, you got to do nothing all day.
Well,
Like,
I did. I went into a question and go, hey man, what am I doing? Like, how am I being intentional? Like I went down this whole rabbit hole of,
Yeah.
okay, I need to make balls to juggle because
yeah.
I don't even know what I'm supposed to be throwing in the air right now.
Right. Yeah.
And because it can be just you feel like just a lot of treading water at times, figuring it out. But I think everyone's been there. Everyone's, and that was one of the things like conversations with Phil Tagg and some of our mentoring calls, just this idea of, okay, you do need to be diligent and you do need to be productive, but you don't have to put that much pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, don't sit on YouTube all day, don't veg out, but also like if you get to the end of the day and you're like, I'm not sure what I did, like don't beat yourself up.
Yeah.
And he basically called me out at one point and was like, so what in your ego makes you think that you can build a church and grow a church in a climate that no one else can right now?
Yeah. Right. Where churches are losing 50 to 75% of their congregation.
Yeah. And you're like, that's a good question. Like the fact that we've had growth
Yeah.
is a big deal.
Yeah.
Now it's like, it's not what we had hoped it would be, but at the same time, it's deeper than we expected it to be.
Yeah.
It's better than we expected it to be.
Yeah.
We're because a lot of times when you start church, you kind of expect everyone to play in the shallow end, and then you're kind of like shoving them into the deep end eventually, right? But the shallow end's packed.
Yeah.
And right now it's like we've got all kinds of people in the deep end, and we're trying to figure out who to throw in the shallow end. Like we got to drag some people in the pool, but
Right.
there's more people in the deep end than we had expected.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
No, it's been cool.
Oh,
I thought of one other thing.
Yeah.
Like, I think before all of this happened, everybody, like, they tried to put on this persona that, you know, oh, I've got my act together. I can juggle all these 50 million things, and we can run here and there and go all over the place, and everything's fine.
And our kids can actually have a birthday party.
Right, and they're doing great. And I'm gonna throw this really fancy Pinterest birthday party, and we're gonna have 50 guests, and they're all gonna have gift bags. And now we're all just like surviving, and we're like, hey man, they had mac and cheese for 3 nights in a row. I'm doing my best.
My kids ate candy for breakfast. This is what we're doing.
The day after my birthday, the girls were like, I don't want toast. I don't want cereal. I'm like, fine, have cake. I don't care.
We don't even care.
Just eat something.
Just eat something.
And so I think we've all sort of like taken the pressure off of ourselves, and we've also like accepted that, you know, give people grace, like give ourselves grace, give others grace, because we're honestly all just like just doing the best we can, man, you know, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, we're all a hot mess, and we're getting by. And
I'm wearing slippers on camera. I would never have
so
done that.
proud
I
of
didn't
you
even
right
leave my
now.
shoes on. Normally I had my shoes on. I took them off tonight.
I almost didn't change out of jammy pants for this, but I did.
I put on a cardigan tonight
Way to go,
instead of
man.
my hoodie.
That is a sharp card.
I like that cardigan, and I have to steal that. Oh, hey everyone! Thanks for coming and hanging out with us. It is
Yeah.
8:00,
Oh man.
and that is a little bit of our just 2020 in review ramblings. Some hopes for 2021. And here's the thing: it doesn't matter the context we find ourselves in. It doesn't matter the situations we find ourselves in. Our mission as followers of Jesus doesn't change. It's to see lives transformed. It's to see people introduced to the gospel. It's to make disciples who make disciples. And the methodology of that,
We'll figure it out.
we'll figure it out. Right? But who we are and what we're called to do does not change.
Right. Jesus hasn't changed.
Jesus hasn't changed. That's right. And so we can't forget that it doesn't matter the context we find ourselves in, whether that is COVID or political, whether your guy won or not the election or state election or whatever. Who we are as Christians and followers of Jesus does not change.
Right.
So
Preach.
take that into 2021 and be intentional. Actually, we're going to talk about being intentional. That's the first sermon series.
Ooh.
Right?
Is it?
It's not called Be Intentional. It's bucket list. But the whole idea is like making the most of your life.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to talk about in January.
Cool.
So anyways, I should talk about, we got Christmas Eve service.
Oh, yeah.
Christmas Eve service on Christmas Eve at 4:30 at the district because we want to worship together. So we're gonna sing some carols together.
With masks
We're gonna
on.
with masks, social distance. Each family gets their own table. You're welcome to join us if you're in the Boise area. 4:30 on Christmas Eve. We're gonna do a candlelight service. I'll talk a little bit about the wise men, and we're just gonna celebrate the holiday season with at least being able to like nod heads at each other, some some elbow bumps.
No, I don't like the elbow bump, man. Let's just stop that.
Let's just stop touching.
That's so weird.
I'm just gonna do the bro nod from
It's
across
so
the room.
awkward. I'll still shake hands. I'll still give hugs.
Ew.
Sanitize, man.
I won't.
Sanitize.
No
I'm
one
not
touched
going-
Kellen.
I'm not
He's
going
dirty.
straight to the beard after I shake your hand.
Shake my hand. All right.
Yeah.
Anyways, everybody, we love you. We hope you have a happy holidays, a Merry Christmas, and that you at least get to hug somebody that you love and bro nod at everybody else over Zoom.
There
so,
we go.
We'll see you.
Goodbye.